to the SCL here in the spring split, but absolutely making their mark early on, as you can see by those standings with the top two. Odin banned away right away, and this may look a little odd until you remember that Wolves is on my guys, and Wolves is in Odin main, basically.
He's had way too much of an impact in a lot of these team fight situations whenever he's permitted to play that Odin. So very smart ban out option. And of course, my guys with the immediate response, eliminating the Zeus, just entirely too strong. And Kabrakan as well, both very solid bans coming out on the side of my guys.
Very, very much like these bans from my guys and that of Strictly Business, looking to focus out a couple members of my guys. That Thoth ban, again, while popular, is a little bit more, it makes a little bit more sense when you realize that it's been Covey in the mid lane there for my guys, who's been absolutely killing it on the Birdman. A Willish the first pick, and that's going to be going to Reminisce in the jungle. Very, very comfortable pick for him. And then Ymir, Medusa. We've seen this Ymir picked by my guys consistently throughout the spring split. It can go to Brochacho or it can go to Wolves. Both can play it at a very high level.
And both of them love having the option to just keep Strictly Business on their toes, considering that since it's a flex pick, they're not really certain where it's going to go. And I also really like how my guys, recognizing that the Awelish has been picked up by Strictly Business, are opting into characters that aren't going to give Awelish a nice little setup already with leaps.
Trying to make sure you avoid getting those jumps so that Awelish can't pull you in easily. Though with that Xing Chen selection for Strictly Business, you expect that knockup is going to be there to synergize with the Awelish in the jungle. Of course, the solo laner for Strictly Business, Nikwid, very, very comfortable on the Guardian. That's where I expect to see that one go. Chang'e going to be the selection here for my guys. Not the most traditional mid pick, but we have seen a little bit of it out here on the console scene.
At the same time, Chang'e having the invulnerability available on her too, very strong option against Poseidon to really get out of any sort of awkward scenario that she could find herself in with the Whirlpool. And on top of that, my guys have a lot of CC coming through already for their draft, which will be really strong considering that Strictly Business seem to be looking for a little bit more AoE control with theirs.
Last pick there for my guys is going to be the Geb, so that's going to be Ymir in the solo lane for Wolves, just stacking CC upon CC like Taco mentioned. Strictly Business, they're going with a little bit more of a traditional composition, at least in Season 4, that Amaterasu could be going into the solo lane, but also could be seen in support. We've seen quite a bit of that, especially so far, at least on the European side on the PC, and then it is going to be Chilvanis on the Amaterasu support. Do you like the Guardian in the solo and the Warrior in the support here, or would you rather see them switch?
Prefer to see Xing Ten running in the solo lane whenever an Amaterasu is picked up, just because Warriors tend to have a little bit more of an impact early on with the dual lane clear. So with Xing Ten, you can safely farm out for the most part in this solo lane, and that's just the primary option because you might as well put as much pressure as possible alongside of an Uller into that dual lane.
A lot of pressure, absolutely, with that Warrior support. He has gone for the Watcher's Gift, no Bluestone or Death Toll. Hyper-aggressive start, but that Bumba's Mask could see Strictly Business try and invade a little bit on that left-hand side. On the right, both the solo and the jungle grouped up here. Both two Guardians and an Assassin on each side there for both Strictly Business and my guys. This my guys roster, we've talked so much about it, Taco, because there's so many big names in the console scene. You've got Brochacho, Chaotic Purpose, Transonics, Wolves, and Covey maybe not as quite as established as the other guys, but has absolutely shown how well he can do. I mean, is this any surprise to you that we're seeing them at the top of the leaderboards, or did you think it would take them a little bit more time to get comfortable with each other?
Considering that Covey is a player who is fairly familiar with the roster of my guys, considering that a lot of those members are already aware of who he was due to PC performance, and Covey is a player who's definitely shown that he's strong to adapting, whether it be on console or PC, and it doesn't really surprise me how much synergy he's already been able to find alongside of my guys, because that team was already established with themselves, so bringing in an additional member, it's really easy to get the ball rolling.
A couple different strategies here on each side. Strictly Business, they're electing to leave Mr. Teep alone in the mid lane, allow him to get these waves all by himself, whereas Covey has Brochacho right there next to him. The support for Strictly Business, Chilvanis, he's on the left-hand side with Keji, and that favors Transonics getting those waves solo. Is this just my guys saying, okay, we want Transonics to be a little bit more farmed than our mid lane coming in the mid game, or what do we see the differences here?
They probably opted to put Brochacho into that mid lane alongside of Kobe, because as a Chang'e, you don't necessarily have the safest clear immediately at level 1, and Poseidon with an Awilish in the jungle, that's a lot of pressure that could come out early on. So you want to provide as much safety to that Chang'e to permit farm, because you know a Medusa is going to be able to secure the wave farm pretty safely.
Absolutely, and Reminisce has spent the entire time on this right-hand side, finally looking like he wants to move out of that solo lane now. Mr. T takes a little bit of poke in the middle lane. Covey having an excellent start to this game on the Chang'e mid. You really do want to have a little bit of support, and Geb is not the best at helping clear. I mean, Geb is notorious himself for being a little bit worse off in the early game, but Strictly Business hasn't been able to really pick on these two mid-game oriented characters quite yet.
I'd expect to see Strictly Business looking to punish Geb around the first cycle of the jungle buffs, because that's levels 1 through 9 are probably the time that Geb is most susceptible to those early invading ganks. He's got mobility, sure, with his rollout, but if you catch him off guard in that, he's very easy pickings early on.
And there's a lot of CC to interrupt that rollout on the side of Strictly Business, so Brochacho definitely needs to be wary of that. Has been so far. No action really at all so far. 3 minutes in to this matchup, and this kind of patient play style, at least on paper, seems to favor my guys' composition. Brochacho finds 3 with the Cataclysm, but there's just no one there to follow up in time. Chaotic Purpose has arrived, and there's the 2-man pull. Reminisce pulled back and knocked up. Chaotic Purpose gets the easy first blood onto Reminisce, who never even uses his purification beads.
What seemed like a little bit of over-aggression by Brochacho probably put Reminisce into that false sense of security. He didn't think that my guys would be close enough, but Covey and Chaotic Purpose were actually able to find the follow-up, and ultimately he's just going to take the spill for it.
Chaotic Purpose did use his ultimate there, going to get more pressure onto Mr. Teeth. The Kraken doesn't buy him enough time to save his life. Early 2 kills going the way of the jungler Chaotic Purpose. And this is just what we've seen him do time in and time out on this Susano. I mean, we're talking, Tom and Toli were talking about Rapio on Thor. I think you could say the same thing for Chaotic Purpose on the Susano, just too strong on it.
He has a lot of mobility on that character, and it's certainly a god that he feels comfortable on. You can tell by the way that my guys were just sitting alongside of that entryway to the T1 tower for Strictly Business, and I'm a little bit surprised that Mr. Teep opted to push that far outside of his tower line, considering that Susanoo has that pull-in ability, and that's exactly what happened with the beads being unavailable. That's dangerous.
Gold Fury started up Transonics around the back. Chovana still tagging that up, and they leash the Gold Fury, so Transonics says, I don't need to hit anybody with my ultimate. I'll hit the objective instead. My guys, they just are handed a Gold Fury on a silver platter by Strictly Business.
Strictly Business were so concerned about Transonics wrapping around that backside that they tried to jump off immediately, but were unable to prevent the Gold Fury being leashed onto Covey. So excellent follow-up by Covey to ensure that he kept the aggro so that way the health didn't reset.
Yeah, very heads-up play there by Covey, standing in that circle, making sure the Gold Fury didn't reset, opening the door to allow that steal opportunity for Transonics, who absolutely capitalizes on it. Speed buff invade all by Brochacho, able to steal that away along with Wolves. My guys just putting pressure all across the map right now, and that's a really feels bad man moment for Strictly Business, because you're down 2 kills early. It's like, okay, we just get this Gold Fury, we're right back in it. Oh, we just gave them the Gold Fury and by accident, and yeah, that stinks.
And with Oracles going the way of my guys as well, what's especially unfortunate for Strictly Business is that looking at these 2 drafts on paper, you would expect the early game to be a bit more favorable towards Strictly Business, but instead now they're actually at a gold and experience deficit, which 2-3K gold at prior to 7 minutes into a game, that's pretty big.
Absolutely. 6 minutes into the game, about to hit that 6-minute mark, and 3,500 experience in favor of my guys. And Brochacho is just walking around with no fear because of that lead that he's gotten for himself. There's a knock-up onto Mr. T. Reminisce, already forced to disengage. The Typhoon doesn't even need the knock-up. Chaotic Purpose, he's got his hand on all 3 kills so far for my guys, who just continue to abuse SB in these 3v3 fights in the mid lane.
And probably the scariest part about all of this is that it is Chaotic Purpose who's securing every single one of these kills. And not only that, but Mr. Teep has been burning out his beads and Kraken every single time, which means that Chaotic Purpose can just continue to engage and pressure out this mid lane as much as he wants to when he's snowballing so hard on this Susano.
So like you mentioned, Strictly Business's comp is designed to be ahead at a stage in the game, and when you're not only behind, but pretty significantly behind, what can they do to turn it around?
They really need to try and slow down the pacing of this game enough to just secure a little bit more farm to close that experience gap, because they don't want to be too patient, considering that the late game does actually favor my guys with their composition. So as long as they look for a more calculated fight within the jungle, they could potentially find themselves swinging this back into their favor.
And that's something that my guys has to be aware of, right? Because even though they are ahead of this stage, Strictly Business's comp is so mid-game, early to mid-game focused that even when behind, the base damage numbers on their characters is going to be enough to potentially carry them through a team fight.
All Strictly Business really need is just to find that one awkward pick for my guys, and as soon as they find that 4v5 engagement in their favor, then they could definitely swing the tables into what they would prefer.
Right,
exactly.
Yeah. It's almost 8 minutes in right now. My guys up 3-0 in kills, have absolutely been dominating Strictly Business for the first 8 minutes of the game. They've gotten a Gold Fury to their name as well, and they're looking to push that lead even farther. Transonic so far ahead of everyone on his team, but SB is just not willing to commit onto him. There's a dash in from Chilvanus, but look at the damage on the backside as two fall immediately between Covey and Chaotic Purpose. Keji and Chilvanus are distracted, and the mid-jungle combination for my guys decimate their opposition on Strictly Business.
It didn't even feel like Strictly Business had 4 players available surrounding that red buff.
Yeah.
They just eliminated almost immediately. Chaotic Purpose is chunking so hard already, and he's only level 9, but when you look at it, he's killing a level 7 Wheelish and Poseidon as though it's nothing.
So we're only 8.5 minutes in, but during the drafting phase, we saw the respect ban onto the Odin and onto the Thoth for Strictly Business. Is there any chance Chaotic Purpose sees the Susano again in Game 2? Regardless of the outcome of this game.
Regardless of the outcome of this game, I can't imagine that Strictly Business would really want to permit him such a comfortable pick, because he's clearly displayed that he's way too good with the Susano.
He's been absolutely killing it. 4-0-1, top of the player damage charts as well. And the scary thing is that Covey is right underneath him. You don't expect the mid lane Chang'e to be anywhere near the top of the damage charts at the 9-minute mark. But when you get a jungler that's giving you as much pressure as Chaotic Purpose is, it really makes a lot of those weaknesses that Chang'e have kind of go away.
And the worst part about that as well is with the Chang'e being available for my guys, longer engagements, she is a healer still, and she could definitely provide enough sustain to turn any sort of extended engagement into the favor of my guys.
And in the jungle fight composition for my guys, you were mentioning how Strictly Business may want to try and take fights in that area of the map, but you look at my guys, they also want to take fights in the jungle. The Ymir walls obviously more impactful in the jungle than they are in lane, but Covey's waxing moon as well. That's where you want to be taking fights as Chang'e is in the jungle.
That's primarily where the pick aspect kind of starts to shine through for Strictly Business. They really need to try and secure something fast with the Wheelish and the Poseidon. Otherwise, my guys could certainly turn any sort of jungle engagement into their favor, just because their composition is so heavily reliant around counter engage. But when you have a lead this far ahead, a team that was based initially around counter engaging now has the freedom to do whatever they want on the map already. That's always dangerous territory.
Love this attempt here by my guys. They throw down a regular ward knowing Strictly Business have a sentry on those bottom left-hand mid harpies and just say, come and get it. Come clear this out. It's 50 gold, guys. Just come get it. You need the 50 gold right now. Trust me, it'll be fine. They wait in that mid-harpy camp, but SB smell it out. Not going to go take that bait. We've seen this movie before. All 3 members of the core for my guys hanging out around that bottom right-hand wall. Strictly Business, again, a little bit too smart this time around for it.
And already another jungle invade with Transonics actually wandering over to the solo lane side, completely opposite side from duo lane. Not even concerned about securing the farm over there, just concerned about helping his team take down the jungle buff.
But Gold Fury has respawned. This is an opportunity for Strictly Business to try and take it down, and they will be able to. No one here from my guys. An ill-timed rotation from Transonics opens the door for that Gold Fury. My guys do get the Portal Demon in response, and are they going to try for the Fire Giant here? I don't think SB respect this possibility from my guys, and they're going to go for it. Fire Giant right around 50% HP. Nikwid has discovered the secret strategy here for my guys, and so Brochacho turns to the engage, but immediately gets picked up along with Wolves into the Kraken. Doesn't kill either one until Nikwid finally able to put SB on the board. Chaotic Purpose picks up his 5th kill already. 5-0-1 for the jungler, and then my guys disengage. 1 for 1 at this stage of the game. Definitely does favor Strictly Business, though. They need that kill and XP from the gold.
Allowing Strictly Business to secure a free Gold Fury is a pretty interesting mindset from my guys, considering you don't want to allow a team who's favored towards the early mid lane stage to try and have any sort of potential for a comeback. But my guys had no concern. The fact that Brochacho was willing to engage there and trust his team to have the follow-up potential just shows how confident my guys are feeling right now.
No, Brochacho is always ready to start off the engagement. That's just the type of support he likes to play. 6-1 now. Strictly Business is on the board, and that was the solo laner Nikwid able to pick up that first kill for SB. I agree with you, though. I mean, the idea, it's a pipe dream to be able to get that Fire Giant at the 12, 11-minute mark. That's a
yeah.
Maybe we catch them sleeping, and my guys let a little bit of that lead go. They've got a lot of slack to work with on that rope, but definitely let a little bit slip through their hands.
I think they're very lucky considering that the only person to fall in that engagement was Brochacho, because had they stayed on that Fire Giant any longer or chosen to potentially commit to that, that could have very well turned entirely against them had Strictly Business pushed a little bit further into that jungle, because they were already kind of low on mana after securing the Portal Demon, and Transonics had taken a ton of poke from the FG alone.
Absolutely. Well, either way, they only lose 1, so they don't lose that much, and Wolves continues to play aggressive on the right-hand side, as does Brochacho, who is out-leveling the enemy jungler, the enemy mid, and the enemy support. He's sitting at level 11, almost to that second relic already. Kovi's gone for the Gem of Isolation. Chunga has a lot of different build options. Do you like this Gem of Isolation pickup for Kovi in the mid lane here?
Gem of Isolation primarily just to help slow and secure down kills like we're potentially about to see onto Nikwid.
Oh, the Waxing Moon just off the mark there for the mid laner. So Nikwid able to escape into his tier 2 tower. Well-timed jumps coming out of the solo laner, able to hop over that knock-up from the Typhoon. So 3 ultimates expended to try and knock down the Guardian with the only kill for Strictly Business, but my guys unable to do so. But they'll be able to sleep okay tonight, knowing that they can just knock down this tier 1 tower instead. Another tower falls. The only tier 1 tower left remaining for Strictly Business is on that left-hand side. And the structure damage for SB just hasn't really been there. A slight, very slight amount of poke into the mid lane tower. Every other tower standing strong so far for my guys.
Considering the experience deficits between Strictly Business and my guys, there's just really not much room for them to try and contest, and now Mr. T could find himself in a lot of trouble here.
Petrify is available for Transonics, but doesn't use it despite the Purification beads being down. Brochacho rolls forward, finds 2 with the Cataclysm, and gets 2 sets of beads for his work. 3 sets of beads down now for my guys to be able to pressure this right side. The grouping didn't work out when that Gold Fury had first respawned, but now this 5v5 force onto SB is really turning out in my guys' favor. So they get multiple sets of Purification beads, and now look at this tier 2 tower. Transonics is a little bit poked, and here's the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. He only finds Wolves, though, does Nikwid. There's the freeze, and a huge Petrify out of Transonics. 2 fall immediately, 3 now with Chaotic Purpose, finding Keji. Wolves into the Shards of Ice. Nikwid is just juking around until Chaotic Purpose finally gives him the mercy killing underneath that tier 2 tower. 10-1. My guys just dominating. The second place team in North America. This is not a David versus Goliath. This is the number 2 team in NA, and they're about to lose a Phoenix and get decided at the 16-minute mark.
There's just absolutely no response from Strictly Business. They recognized it and were pretty hesitant underneath that T2 tower even to try and contest, considering that they were well aware their actives had been expended already. They knew that my guys were definitely looking to try and find a team fight underneath that tower, because having such a massive lead over your opposition, I mean, there's no concern in the world if you're trying to pressure into that T2. And they came out on top for that. Transonics Petrified there was massive, and for him to have that much of an impact on the team fight this early on, that is just so devastating for Strictly Business.
And again, it comes down to the fact that my guys bait out 3 sets of beads on the side of Strictly Business, and it's not like there's an Aegis available for anyone on SB either. Mr. Teep's only level 11. Reminisce has just now hit level 12. He didn't have a second relic available to him at the time. Keji had it, but couldn't use it. It was also a big freeze by Wolves to set all that up. But regardless, Strictly Business just kind of left wondering what they can do in game 2 at this stage. At 16 minutes, you're down 9,000 gold. I mean, we did see Rival make an unbelievable comeback, down 15,000 gold, but that was with a very late game oriented composition. You really can't say the same for SBs this time around.
Not in the slightest. SB are probably starting to get really concerned at this stage of the game, considering right now it's definitely looking like my guys' game to throw.
Well, Fire Giant started up here for my guys. 4 members here. Wolves is going to walk back, though he does have that teleport. No, he does come through that portal that was available. Brochacho getting a little bit low. Good poke onto the support, courtesy of the Fire Giant more than Strictly Business, really. Chaotic Purpose thought about backing there, but a great pull over the wall. Kobe in a bad spot. There's the Moonlit Waltz, and the Kraken isn't enough to finish off the mid laner. Chilvan is still trying to find him, and he won't be able to. Reminisce getting chased down by Chaotic Purpose. He's going to be the first to fall in this engagement. A great wall from Wolves. Blocks off 2 there. The meditation coming through for Strictly Business, but it just isn't going to be able to allow them to turn around the fight. Wall again from Wolves. Chilvanis, we knew you well, my friend. Kobe able to turn it around. In SB, I mean, that's the ideal engagement, Taco. You pull the mage out of position, and Kobe literally dances out of danger.
That was an absolutely perfect engagement by SB, but there's just no chance for them to secure any sort of kill. Brochacho came through with the clutch meditation onto Kobe, plus the Chang'e heal, more than enough to keep him alive. Well, not more than enough to keep him alive, but the fact that they weren't able to secure the kill onto Kobe after having expended so much into trying to eliminate him just completely set them up to get rolled over by my guys. And I mean, they just don't have enough damage at this stage of the game. They're already just so far behind. They can't make that impact that they want, even in what looked to be a perfect engage.
And another perfect wall from Wolves blocks Chilvanis' path into that mid lane. There's the freeze. Love the patience out of the soul laner. Chilvanis, he's got nowhere to go. Another death for the support. 3 already in Wolves. You can't give him Odin. You clearly can't give him Ymir. Oh, by the way, you also can't give Chaotic Purpose Susano. Probably don't want to give Trans Medusa. It's good luck to any team who's trying to draft against my guys. They just seem to be too strong. Wall. Again, Chaotic Purpose finds a kill onto Keji. Nickwig gonna toss back Wolves, but my man is level 18 and doesn't have a care in the world about that Phoenix. In goes Reminisce, but it isn't going to be enough to find any kills. Chaotic Purpose picks up his jungler opposition once more. Middle Phoenix is still standing, Taco, and it just doesn't matter. They never even get it. 16-1. Preach.